Hi everybody, let's do a video that shows how to create custom area labels, that is area labels which are positioned at a custom location. Now the way Manifold creates labels for us, if we want, we're looking here at a map of France which shows the new layout of departments in France, and these are areas, and if we want to create a label for each one of these, let's take a look at the regions table. It's the table with the attributes behind those area objects. We can see that each one of these has a name. So let's create a label that automatically uses the name. We can right-click on Regions and choose New Labels. And here we'll choose the text field name. Click Create Labels, and that creates labels. We can drag and drop that into the map as a layer. And there we see our labels. Each label is taken from the name attribute for the area object. And Manifold, and we won't bother reformatting those labels. We'll just leave them default formatting them. Now the nice thing about this is that it's totally automatic. And if we zoom into a different layout, Manifold will automatically move the labels around. So for example, you can see here these labels have been moved into the position closer to the region to try to keep as many of the areas labeled as possible. All that is fine and convenient, but suppose we don't want that effect. Suppose we want the labels to be permanently attached to some location that we specified, perhaps because we're creating some sort of custom cartographic display for use in a print layout or whatever. And we don't want them moving around. We want them fixed at a particular spot, like we want perhaps Normandy up here in the ocean, or Burgundy out here on this side. And that's easy to do. Now the way we do something like that, I'm going to double click the labels layer to turn it off. The way we do that is we create a custom geometry upon which the labels can be based. And the usual way we do that is to create a custom point geometry. That's not at all hard to do, and I'll show you how to do it right now. Let's click open the regions table again, and we can choose Edit Schema to launch the schema dialog, or click Control-E, the keyboard shortcut. And we're going to add a new field. We're going to call that new field Points Geom, and that's going to be a type of geom. That's Manifold shorthand for a geometry. Click OK, click Save Changes, and we've just added another geometry field to the table. We have this geometry field from which the areas are created, and this one here is going to be a point. Now let's populate this point geometry field using an expression. And the expression that we'll use here in the transform panel, I'm going to click the target to be points geom. The expression will be this one right here, and this is an expression that I copied earlier, so I don't have to type it out again. And if we want to look at how this works, geom, this is the field right here. So take the area and compute the center of it. And this geom center function, geom center, I'll use the filter to reduce that long list of functions, just those that I want to show. The geom center function takes a geom, and it creates a value x2 value. That means it creates a vector value which has two coordinates to it. The geom make point, and let's do this, geom make point. Geom make point takes a value x2, that is a coordinate value that has two coordinates to it, and it generates a geom out of that. So the net result out of this is we take the area geometry, we find the center of it, and then we create a point geometry from that, and we put point geometry in here. We're looking at a preview here, shown in blue preview color. I'm going to click Update Field, and Manifold populates that. Now this is not a computed field. This is just a one-time loading that we've done of this field, where we've taken this area geometry and we put it in here, and so now we have points. Manifold has the tremendously useful ability to create drawings from multiple geom areas in the same record. So for example, for this record here in Normandy, we have two geometry fields. One of them has the area, and one of them has the point that we just created. And if we like, we can create two drawings from the same table. In this case, we have the regions drawing that's created from the geom field. And now let's create another drawing, which we'll call points. Create new drawing, and I'll call this points from the regions table. But in this case, we're going to use points geom as the geometry field. Create drawing, and we've just created that drawing. I'm going to drag and drop points into here too, so you can see what we've created. We used a simple center function which just computes the center of the original. It's not one of the center by weight or the center that's inner. It just creates a point, and it doesn't really matter where these points are because we're going to move them about anywhere. Anyway, let's turn those off, and now let's create a labels from those points. Create new labels from points labels, and the text we will use is the name field. Create labels. And now drag and drop that into the map, and you can see that we've created labels from where we created those points. Now what's cool about these labels is because they're generated from this regions table, and let's undock this table. so we can see what it's all about. And I'll move it over here, a little bit out of the way. We have two drawings simultaneously being created from the same table. One of them is the regions drawing here, which is created from the area geometry, and the other one is the points labels, which is created from the points drawing that is created from this points geom field right here. Let's drag that to view a little bit better. And because they're all created from the same record, for example, the record up here for Normandy, they both take their value from whatever the text field is in here. So if I change this text field to say Normandy, let's change something like that, the English spelling, you can see that automatically it changes both for whatever's created from the area geometry and as well from at the same time for whatever's created from the point geometry. Let's deselect that, and let's now show you what else we can do here. I'm going to click that table off. In the points labels layer, I can Shift-Alt-click Normandy to pick it for editing. So it shows the coordinates there, and it shows a little anchor dot there, which we can drag and drop however we want, and we can move that around. We can Shift-Alt-click Burgundy here and move it around to there, and if we like, we can shift to the values part of the record channel pane and change the spelling to Burgundy, the English spelling, like that. Click Update Record, and the label automatically moves to the new point position, and the spelling changes as well. If we like, we can alt-click something. For example, let's alt-click Ile-de-France, and we'll change the name. We're just changing the text in the table by doing this to the main feature of the Ile-de-France, which is the Paris, of course, by far the largest city in France. So whenever we move any of these here to a different location, they're going to stay in that location, because what we're doing is we're moving the point, and the point is something that we generated from the area just once. It's not dynamically updated, so if we added a new area to the drawing, there wouldn't be a new automatic point for it. But if all we want to do is take an existing drawing like this and position these labels to fixed locations where we want them, and we don't want them changing. So, for example, when we zoom in, that's not going to change anywhere. It's going to stay exactly the same position. If I zoom in here, that label is no longer in view. We can do that. It's very easy to do and a lot of fun. And by the way, you can do all this with the free Manifold Viewer too. So if you want, download the free Manifold Viewer and try if you're learning how to do this sort of stuff. There are no strings attached to the free viewer. You don't have to register. There's no nag where it doesn't time out or anything like that. You just use it forever, and it does everything that Release 9 does, except that it's read-only. It's a viewer. It's not an editor. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching, and goodbye from Manifold Land. Well, that was fun. If you want to see more, visit us at www.manifold.net. As always, Manifold delivers the world's most advanced, highest quality spatial products for GIS and DBMS at a low price that you can afford. Once again, that's manifold.net. See you soon.